It's a great enabler, so much so that those who couldn't make it to Dubai can still join us in this event. May I introduce His Excellency Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India, joining us from New Delhi.
Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri is India's Minister of State for Housing and Urban Affairs. As a diplomat, Mr. Puri served as India's permanent representative to the United Nations, as well as an ambassador to the United Kingdom and Brazil.
My greetings to the participants of the WION Global Summit. India, South Asia, urbanization, these are all today interlinked in terms of the challenges of development. When the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda or the Sustainable Development Goals, it was clear that the success of the Sustainable Development Goals would be anchored in India's ability to meet the targets set out in the 2030 Agenda. The West has tended to describe India as a reluctant urbanizer because India's rate of urbanization has been, on an average, somewhat less than the global average. I am not, however, sure if this characterization of India being a reluctant urbanizer takes into account some of the special features of India, which I think are in many respects sui generis. India's urban population in 1947 was approximately 17%. According to the 2011 census, which is the last that we have, India's urban population was around 31%. We are today working against a target of 600 million people who are likely to be inhabiting our urban space by the year 2030. Today, India is a $2.7 trillion economy, but we have low per capita incomes. By the time we reach the 75th year of India's independence, we expect to be a $5 trillion economy or thereabouts. In 2030, India will be a $10 trillion economy with a fourfold increase in the per capita income. Now, it is well known that 70% of the India of 2030 still remains to be built. Therefore, we are under the present pace undertaking the building of something like 700 to 900 million square meters of urban space every year, which is approximately equivalent to one Chicago that we have to build every year. What are the challenges that urbanization faces in India? Clearly, the most important challenge is to build and prepare for the very vigorous and robust urbanization which is taking place autonomously. India is the world's largest democracy. Every Indian citizen has the right to decide where he or she wishes to live, and it is no surprise that many people leave the rural setting to come and look for economic opportunities in urban India. Already the cities provide and account for something like 65% of our GDP, 90% of our tax returns, with the contribution of agriculture to the GDP declining over the years. It is absolutely imperative that we prepare the basis on which the cities will be able to house its citizens and give them an ease of living and ease of comfort. This requires several steps which have already been initiated, and I should say, and I should repeat, that the government of Prime Minister Modi in May 2014 embraced urbanization as a win-win. And it is the first time in the history of India when urbanization is receiving priority attention through several programmatic interventions of the Prime Minister's, through the Prime Minister's flagship programs. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, or the Affordable Housing Scheme, as it is popularly referred to, envisions that every Indian will have a home which he or she can call their own by 2022. We did an assessment when the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana started in June 2015, and the estimate was that we would be required to build something like 10 million additional dwelling units. Each dwelling unit or home would be a pakka structure with a modern kitchen, toilet, and all other modern amenities. As against the 10 million or so units that have to be built by the time the scheme gets completed in 2022, I'm very happy to inform you that we have already sanctioned 7.3 million. Out of these, 3.8 million have already been grounded and 1.5 million handed over. It is very well known that 40% or so of the cost of an apartment invariably is covered by the cost of land. This scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, is unique. It is being implemented through 4 verticals, and the government is providing the land for the affordable housing in partnership, and it's also providing various other facilities. Now, apart from this programmatic intervention, we need to move people around, not cars. Our policies are sound, but we have added, as a result of this, we need to strengthen public transport, and I'm very happy to inform you that in Delhi alone, in the last 1 year, we have added 140 kilometers of metro. Delhi Metro today is the 3rd largest in the world, with a total coverage of something like 350 kilometers and an average ridership of 30 lakhs per day. Other South Asian cities, the bigger ones, have problems and challenges which are very similar to those of India and our urban cities. I'm very happy to find that many of these programmatic interventions are now being looked at. The flagship programs are being studied. I know that a neighboring country wants to emulate and operationalize the Swachh Bharat or the clean sanitation campaign. I am frequently in discussions with my counterpart ministers in South Asia, and through a process of information sharing, through a process of sharing of technical know-how, etc. We are in the process of all of us pooling our knowledge and experience so as to implement the 2030 agenda or the Sustainable Development Goals. I think the biggest challenge for urbanization, not only in South Asia, but I think in other parts of the world, is to ensure that we undertake a robust process of building and rebuilding, but anchored in green and resilient technologies. In other words, we have to meet the targets and we have to meet the demands and challenges of urbanization, but we have to do it in a sustainable manner, in an ecologically friendly manner, so that the succeeding generations do not have to face the kind of problems that our generation is currently facing. By and large, large cities grew up without much planning. We now have to ensure that those of us who missed out on the planned aspects of urbanization, that we hand over to our succeeding generations a planned urban landscape, which means providing the correct amount and judicial quantities of water, sanitation, waste treatment, etc. And I'm very happy that the buildings that we have been making now respond to those requirements. We are also undertaking in the next few days a completion of the Global Technology Housing Challenge, in which we have invited economic entities, architects, builders, and other construction companies from around the world to come and participate in a competitive challenge. And then in 6 different geoclimatic zones, 1,000 units, 6 of these will be set up through a process of competition to provide a lighthouse effect. This Global Technology Housing Challenge and will, I am sure, increase the percentage and amount of green technologies which are to be used in the construction industry. As we all know, buildings, residential and commercial, provide for about 40% of the toxicity and carbon emissions in the world. Our immediate task, our immediate objective is to make the newer buildings neutral and then make them positive emitters of energy. I want to thank the WION Global Summit for providing a platform for us in India to share our experiences of urbanization with our friends, not only in South Asia, but indeed elsewhere. And this is a constant learning process from which I think we can all benefit. Thank you very much.